Bird identification can be challenging, especially with these look-alike warblers. Welcome to the Bird Identification Workshop presented by the Peace River Audubon. So why should we try to identify and count birds? We need to know which birds are imperiled, and the National Audubon, in pursuit of climate change research, has started the Migration Initiative. This initiative will attempt to study mistiming of food sources at migration times. Initial sources of data will come from the Christmas bird counts, backyard feeder counts, and data that you enter on eBird. So when you go out on a field trip and identify birds and enter the counts of these birds on the internet at the eBird site, you will help the Migration Initiative. Done. You should consider the color and size when you identify birds. Size can vary from 2¼ inch bee hummingbird to the 6-foot ostrich. In this picture, you will see the silhouette of some blackbirds that vary from 7½ inches to 16 inches. Can you guess what they might be? These are some of the birds that you will find in our area that are black in color, and here are their songs. When you look at the silhouette, you need to compare the body shape, look at the proportion to the landscape to get the size, look at the shape and length of features like tails, legs, beaks, and wings, and look in proportion to other body parts. Finally, look at the perching, flying, and landing postures. Posture can help you identify a bird, whether it's upright, like flycatchers, hawks, or owls, or whether they're horizontal, like vireos, shrikes, crows, and warblers. Behavior is another way to identify birds, whether they land on the branch or on the trunk, how they feed, how they fly, how they take off, where they're building a nest, whether the male or the female incubate the eggs, and what kind of behavior do they have for feeding their young, and how they preen. Okay, let's concentrate on the picture. You can actually tell what bird this is without even seeing the color. The first one is a woodpecker on the trunk. The next one is perhaps a nuthatch crawling down the tree, and then you have a crow perched by the sides, and then a kestrel that was the only cavity nesting hawk. Then you have the gnatcatcher or the cardinal in the little small bush, and then an ovenbird or palm warbler on the ground, then a group of sparrows feeding, then perhaps the blue jay and the owl who are perched, and then a warbler in the tree, a swallow flying, and then a dove, a nightjar at the bottom, and at the top a hawk. You want to look at habitats, whether the birds are found in hardwood hammocks, pine flatwoods, coastal areas, prairies and marshes or swamps, at rivers or springs, in estuaries or in lagoons. Which habitat do birds use for roosting at night, foraging, or finding mates? Where do they make their nest? In burrows, in cavities, or in trees? And finally, you need to figure out where rest stops are during migration, breeding territories, and wintering hotspots. Field marks are very important. You want to look at around their eyes, around their beak, and their feet. Look for wing bars, eye rings, in the crown of the head. This is a comparison by size of woodpeckers. You also might want to look at their habitat and where the red is on each bird. Next, we will compare songs. These are some of the identifying behaviors. Carolina wrens repeat their song 3 times, and it's very loud. There are a lot of imitators. The northern mockingbird repeats its song 3 times, the brown thrasher twice, blue jays mock red-shouldered hawks, and palm warblers wag their tails a lot. Snow plovers like to run and then stop, and then brown-headed nuthatches climb down trees. Back to the tricky warblers. Look at this yellow-throated warbler. It has a nice yellow throat. But if you look at the yellow-rumped warbler, the juvenile up there has a yellow throat too. But he also has that in front of the wing is a yellow marking and field mark. And that's how you know it's a yellow-rumped warbler. And then you can see the female up at the top with the yellow rump. Notice the yellow rump warbler has the yellow on top of the rump, and the palm warbler has the yellow underneath the covert tail feathers. Palm warblers pump their tails up and down and are found near fences a lot. Black and white warblers are found near the tops of the trees and sound like squeaky wheelbarrows. Listen to the trill of the pine warbler. Now we come to our doves. The Eurasian collared dove has a collar, a little black mark around the back of its neck, and a square tail, where the mourning dove has a very long pointed tail. The common ground dove you can hear most of the time before you see him. The cormorant looks different than the ahinga. The ahinga has more of a snake-like neck and is found in freshwater areas mostly. Turkey vultures have white at the bottom of their wings and black vultures at the tips. Color and size are the keys for identifying egrets and herons. The snowy egret is chasing an immature little blue heron up at the top left. The snowy egret has yellow feet, but the immature little blue heron has yellowish wash on its legs, so those are things you have to watch out for. The reddish egret is truly got a reddish color on its neck, and the little blue heron is more of a brownish color when it's in breeding. These two birds are actually transitioning to their winter plumage, which is duller. Then, if we look at the adult little blue heron, you can see that the little blue herons start out white, and as they get older, they turn to this blue grayish color. The green heron and the immature tricolor heron share the same colors at a very short period of time, but the green heron will become duller in the winter. And then look at the tricolor parent, the adult, and it is more of a grayish color, but it always has a white line on its under neck. You can look at the gull's feet to identify which is which. The laughing gull has black feet, the herring pink, and the ring-billed yellow. Also look at the beaks and the color. The laughing gull will have a dark mandible, both upper and lower. The herring will have a lower mandible red spot, and the ringbill will have a ring at the end of its beak. So finally we get to the ocean side, and there's not much difference in size between these sanderlings and the sandpipers, especially in winter plumage, but you can see a little bit difference in the amount of white that and where their wings are relative to their bellies. You also can look at the eyebrow of the spotted sandpiper and the least sandpiper, and then look at the dark line in the sanderling. You can also tell by the behavior, because the sanderlings run in the surf. Notice the subtle differences. The thicker bill in the sanderling and the droopy beak of the western. The eye lines and the eyebrows are different too. Ask the locals in the area, and don't forget to enter all your information on eBird. Thank you for listening.